So obviously we agree with the Chief Minister that this is going to be a massive challenge and that no one should be left behind. And therefore we feel that even though the economic measures proposed have been well received and definitely they are a step in the right direction, that there's still a chance that some people are falling through the cracks. For example, the fact that there are some excluded services is not necessarily the best possible route to tackle this situation. Apart from the very few sectors like supermarkets and grocers, most sectors have been impacted, and law firms, for example, are currently excluded. So you see how small law firms are struggling and suffering as a result. So we can argue that most people in most sectors are being affected. So it would be more fruitful, we believe, if there was a plan if it could be proved that a business has had a significant downturn in their income in relation to the expectations that they had, projections, having to lay people off, shrink their business, that all of these circumstances were taken into account and that these businesses should be provided the help by virtue of having been impacted by the crisis, so that everybody from every sector can access, meaning that the measures that are considered should be based more on hardship and not necessarily on the sector. Otherwise, with these kind of more rigid systems that we have in place, we risk a lot of people actually falling through the cracks.
How well do you think BEAT is working and how could it be improved?
We commend government, obviously, for introducing these measures, and we think that largely they are giving a lot of people and businesses a lot of relief right now by ensuring to give so many people who have been laid off minimum wage. We understand that it is a good measure. Most people in Gibraltar can live off a minimum wage for a while. The problem is that there have been no other provisions for all the outgoings that people have, because a lot of people that don't have a minimum wage pay packet have much higher outgoings in terms of rent, mortgages and the like, and they won't be able to face these payments with about £1,000 a month. So these people effectively will be risking losing their homes and losing out in this crisis in a big way, and they risk clearly being penalized in this crisis for having the higher income. So I think these current measures could work better in conjunction with some kind of government-enforced rent and mortgage holidays, because otherwise it might be better to go down the plan of the UK, for example, where a percentage of the salary is guaranteed up to a certain figure. In the UK at the moment it's 80% or up to £2,500, which is quite a good figure, but something similar to that. In the UK, the government is acting as guarantor for loans also, and in Gibraltar, people are reporting that banks are being slow to lend. So perhaps the government could look at shouldering some form of loan system, grants to businesses who rent commercial properties, and for this measure to also be applied to self-employed individuals with a rental contract, for example, so that they don't go to the wall. Also, I think more access to the BEAT officials would be greatly appreciated by people trying to offload their general concerns and get through to the system. I think that would be a great relief for them. And something like, as well as an email address, a phone number could be implemented, or enhanced access somehow to the BEAT officials would be a very welcome step.
Going forward, economic activity is necessary to pay for health authority, care agency, and other essential government services. But how can we move forward with this without taking any undue risks with public health?
So this is a healthcare argument. Going forward, we don't believe that we should be taking any risks with the lives of our people. We should put all our resources in action and borrow whatever we have to and do whatever we have to protect the lives of people. And until we have a system in place that allows for extreme and across-the-board testing for all citizens and contact tracing and isolation quarantining of everybody who has tested positive, ergo a very rigid system of control in place so that we can try to squash the virus wherever it rears its head, until then, returning to work will be extremely risky, and it doesn't seem that we are getting anywhere near that situation at the moment. So we would appeal to government to start operating this rigid testing regime as soon as possible. Having said that, I think it's important to remind people that one of the few positives of this pandemic catastrophe is that the natural environment is enjoying a welcome break due to the shutdown of the global economy. We've known for a long time that the economy as it was going was not going to be sustainable, and we've ignored the future implications of all that at our peril. So we need to understand that this virus is not unrelated to the exacerbated exploitation, greed of the natural world, and that we can expect more of this in the future if we don't heed the warnings that are coming our way. It's therefore going to be an opportunity, as we see it, to introduce a strict sustainability criteria when the time comes to rebuild the economy in a greener and more sustainable way, if we put our minds to it, by investing in science and technology, in green infrastructures, green energy, and that, I believe, should be the priority once we're over the COVID challenge.
How would you describe your involvement in COVID-19 discussions with the government?
So we have tried to be constructive, and we stand with government and have voted in favor of all the tools and legislation that government has deemed necessary to fight this pandemic. We've also sent many communications to government in private, and when we do put out things in public, we do so in order to create some public pressure to push towards greater and more efficient measures to protect the lives of people, and we feel that that is our obligation. This is something that we see happening all over Europe at the moment, where oppositions are respectfully and constructively speaking out on issues and measures taken. We try to do it from a constructive angle and in a way that shows our appreciation for all the good work that government is doing, but at the same time, we believe that we receive information from constituents or hear certain things that we don't agree with, and it is our job to go out there in a constructive way and display those opinions and feedback. The government doesn't seem to take this very kindly. Some of the media we have put out in the past has resulted in my being excluded in meetings with opposition, where only the GSD are invited because they seem not to have any major dissent from government. So yes, it's clear that we have been punished at times for expressing our opinions, but at the end of the day, every opinion that we have expressed has eventually been followed up by government. For example, we asked for a more stringent lockdown, and it happened a few days later, and now we are asking for more widespread use of PPE equipment, and we are sure that government will take it into consideration because it's common sense and because it's for the good of our community.